Welcome to the Retain Unified Archiving Configuration Guide video. I am Stefan Fossmann, and I will be your guide today. I'll be following the documentation found on our website. There are a few prerequisites to configuring Retain properly. You should point the Retain server at the same DNS as the email system is using. But there are things that can be done if that is not possible. See the online documentation. In the database management system, create a database and user for Retain to use. We'll be going over that later on. Decide on a password for the Retain admin user. You'll need the address of your SMTP server and a recipient for the status messages Retain will send. First, we'll set up the database. We'll be using the onboard MySQL 5.7 for this demonstration. A cheat sheet created from the documentation is handy. Open the MySQL command line client and create the database. The character set and collation are very important. If not set correctly, there will be data corruption. Then create the user. If you want to limit from where the database can be accessed, change the % to a hostname or IP address. Now we can exit. Open your browser to go to the Retain server URL, which is the hostname or IP address of the Retain server / Retain server as one word, capital R and capital S. The first thing to configure is the file path for the Retain data. You can take the default, or you can click on Advanced Settings and deselecting Derive All File Locations from above specified path. From here, you can specify the path for different parts of Retain. The big ones would be the attachments, which include message bodies and attachments, and the indexes. The location of the database would be set in the database management software. We recommend a separate data volume from the operating system. For this video, we'll use the default location. Press Continue. Next, we need to connect to the database. The database is MySQL and is on board, so we can use the defaults on that. The database name is Retain. The database username is Retain. We need to add the passwords for the database user for Retain and the root user. The root user is needed to create the tables Retain needs. It will not be stored. Press Continue. Next, we enter the database user credentials again to confirm that we are ready to create the tables. Press Continue. Wait a moment while that is done. Enter the Retain admin user password and confirm. Press Continue. Next, enter the SMTP connection details. You cannot skip this step because this is the main way Retain can communicate with you. The SMTP server address, the source email address the Retain server should use, the destination email address, you can add additional addresses with a comma. Press Continue. Next, select the indexing engine. The default standard indexer is the high-performance indexer. The high-availability indexer is the cluster of indexing servers which requires an extra license. Enter the Retain admin password to enable the indexer. Press Continue. Next, enter the Retain server hostname or IP address. This is so the other components of Retain know how to connect to the Retain server. Press Continue. Press Complete to finish. You'll be brought to the Retain login screen. Enter the admin credentials. After you log into Retain, you'll see the status screen, which doesn't have a lot to say since it's brand new. When setting up a Retain server, you'll need to enter your license PEM files. You do that under Licensing. You scroll down and select Browse. You will get an email with at least 2 validation keys. One for the Retain server and another for the module. You will need to go to licenses.guava.com to enter the validation keys and download the license PEM files. You'll have to upload both of them. Next, we'll set up reporting and monitoring. This gathers statistical data about the jobs. Enable Configure Reporting and Monitoring. While there are options you can change, the defaults are very good. Press Save, and you will be taken to the Bootstrap tab, which now appears. Download the Bootstrap file. Click on Reporting and a new tab will open. Browse to the file location and press Upload. Log into the Reporting and Monitoring server with the admin credentials, and you'll be taken to the Reporting and Monitoring home screen. From here, you can run reports, schedule reports, and manage scheduled reports. View the System Monitor, monitor mailbox errors, which allows you to handle errors that happened in jobs. You can also manually perform maintenance. The next step will be to configure a module.